Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the King of Average podcast with your boy BB and
Medic.
Medic. Why don't you go ahead and do us a favor and explain to us why there is a painting behind us that you can only enjoy on LSD?
Well, LSD is a hell of a drug. And no, this was actually a painting that one of my good friends, Skundev, went ahead and he made, and he gave it to me today. So I decided, out of just pure hype and celebration and just being super appreciative of it, just making its premiere to the KOA podcast, man. So
Honestly, shout out to Skenda, bro.
yeah, for
Like, not like Yahui, bro. Honestly, we gotta see him, dude. We gotta see him sometime. And I'll be honest with you, bro. I don't think that's gonna leave the background.
no, this is the KOA backdrop.
This is officially
Until we can eventually add a little bit more stuff too. You know?
for sure.
So yeah, that
sure.
explains the painting.
For sure.
We're moving up, baby. It's going moving up in this life.
It doesn't wash the show, but
Paints.
swag, dude. All right, bro. So what are we talking about today, my man?
Dude, we're talking about why we should be doing things with excellence.
In life.
Let's go, baby. So let's kick it off with that. So
Wait. What was your dub of the day, dude?
dude,
Bro, I got you. I'm at the hookah, yeah. Oh.
so the dub of the day for me was
I'm sorry. What? Why would it be weird? Go ahead.
the dub of the day was properly communicating effectively, right? And getting things or communicating in a very mature and effective manner, right? And sometimes emotions can get involved when trying to communicate, in miscommunications and going back and forth and so on, but to then hold yourself back and try to remain as calm as possible, as mature as possible, as open-minded as possible. That is definitely a dub in my eyes, as opposed to just getting super emotional and start yelling and stuff and barking, I guess. But that was my dub, man, is self-control in being able to properly communicate as an adult, as we all should. So healthy means of communication. That was my dub.
Isn't it always nice?
Speak to the folks, bro.
Isn't it always nice when the person you're communicating to is very receptive and on the same level of maturity of that conversation?
That, I feel like that is really what made me push through or stay consistent with the maturity, because I'm here speaking to another person, and that person is very they're basically reciprocating the same amount of maturity and energy.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you're gonna be a fool to try to act out of line, and you're legit gonna lower yourself and disrespect the other person as well, because they're holding it together.
Mm-hmm.
You have to respect that part too. So that's true.
Yeah, that's always really nice. Today was a pretty interesting day. I felt like it was full of dubs. It was just one after the other. I was kind of cool. Or maybe I'm just grateful for such an amazing day. But the dub of today was I went to two conferences today. Obviously, I was late to both.
Not surprised.
So I went to the first one. I went to I walk in, some guys giving a presentation, and it was cool. I was learning a couple things, taking notes, whatever. And then there was a little break, got some water. They were really feeling coffee, so I didn't get coffee yet. And then I headed over to the next presentation at the conference, and it was really cool because the next topic that I went to go watch, it was regarding how you can use AI in your small business to assist you in many different ways, you know? So it was really cool. It was a very introductory type of like conversation to the topic. Obviously, they weren't able to go into a lot of details because there's so much details to that field. But
I think that's where you buy the course.
yeah, I mean, I guess no, they were pushing for the next conference. You know,
Where
get your
that?
tickets
I respect
available.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
Which in a way is sort of like a course.
yeah. But you know, funny enough, the registration for the next conference was free, as was this conference.
Nice. How do you find this conference out?
Ahmed,
Wow.
he literally was just like, "Yo, you're going to a conference on Thursday." I was like, "All right, cool, man." It was pretty cool. It was actually kind of dope because he signed us both up for the conference.
And he didn't go.
And no, the lady who basically like guided him to the conference, she was like, you know what, you actually signed up for the conference for the wrong conference. I wanted you to sign up for a different one, right? So the reason why he didn't come with me is because he actually went to the second one that I showed up to later, and that one was more focused on the first one I went to. That one was just like small businesses in general, right? General information. The one he went to was like specific on like import and export internationally,
Nice.
right? So it was really, really cool. So it was dope. You know what I'm saying? We flipping dressed up in the same suit, went to do two different conferences. You know what I'm saying? Divide and conquer. Dude.
That's really conflicting because y'all look the same from like so like your average person.
Yeah, so it was like the same person attending two different conferences.
So really, why even get two tickets?
So like, how do you even like, you know, you always ask like, how can I be at two places at once?
Yeah.
Flipping, you know, Wahad BB style.
Sounds
I was gonna like try to not laugh it off and smooth it over, but no. Anyways, the point I was trying to get at was like at the end of the conference, I made two pretty much like network connections with two of the speakers, right? The speaker from the first thing I attended, and then this, you know, one of the speakers from the second thing I attended. And the reason why that was a dub is because it was actually kind of cool. The first class I went to, the speaker ended up behind me in the lunch line, right? And so I turned around, oh shoot, what's up? How you doing? Blah blah blah. And we just kind of started talking. And I was like, you know what? After your talk, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. So I had the opportunity while we were getting food, you know, ask him questions, pick his brain a little bit more. So it was really cool. And then after a while, I was just like, yo, dude, you want to go sit down, like, so we can eat? So we sat down the entire time. Like at that point, it went from like questions that I was curious about to like, you know, him making fun of the person who was like talking up on the stage while we were eating. So it got to like a kind of a cool level, you know.
I like that first one already.
Yeah. It was really cool. It was really cool. And then when I went to go get seconds, the second speaker who I connected with, he told me he was like, he remembered my name and everything. And he told me he was like, yo, were you able to sign up for the next event? I was like, no, I didn't look into it. And he goes, you know what? Yeah, it's probably all like sold out by now, you know? And then he was just like, just show up. And I was like, okay. He goes, yeah, you just show up because chances are some people are not going to show up. So you'll get a spot anyways. I was like, this guy's a flipping legend, bro. Like, you know, like, that was kind of cool, you know? I went back to my table, I was talking to the first guy, and asked him questions, and he explained to me about like, some of his history with like the businesses he's done and stuff like that. And he's talking about how like in one of his businesses, he was connected to like MMA fighters and this and that. So I was like, yo, how do you recommend I reach out if I wanted to get, you know, an MMA fighter on, you know, on my podcast? Shout out Mogul Insider. And then he was just so direct. He was just like, I'm gonna send you this guy's number. He manages a few fighters. And I was just like, huh? And he was like, you want me to text it to you, email it to you? I was like, dude, just text me. And so I let him put my number in. And then he sends me the guy's contact. I didn't hit him up just yet. But I was just like, sick. And then like, you know, at the end of the conversation, you know, we're talking, laughing, whatever. He was just like, yeah, dude, if you need anything, you got my number. Just hit me up anytime.
What a guy.
I was like, that's a flipping dub, dude. All before 1:30 p.m.
Nice.
Yeah. It was sick.
And what do you do for like their remaining?
I texted my brother. I was like, yo, dude, should I come to yours now? And he was like, yeah, dude, come through. So I pulled up, and then everyone was just like, what's going on?
I'm seeing double.
Yeah. What's going on? And I was just like, yeah. It's you know, it's our thing.
You know what? When your parents like match you as kids,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, obviously you guys never grew out of it.
Yeah.
Girls flip up, dude.
No, you know what's funny? You know when you're a kid and your parents match you with your sibling, and you're like, I don't want to do this. I hate this. You go through a phase where you hate it, and then eventually you grow up and you're like, dude, we got to get matching suits. You know what I mean? Hey, what are you wearing today? Let's rock the same thing. You know what I mean? For only for like events and stuff, not like on a casual Tuesday, 'cause that's just weird. But yeah, we do it on purpose for sure. Um, but yeah, I went to the second conference, and that one, like I said, my brother was a little bit more involved in. I kind of was just there to like try to absorb some information. But yeah, it was really cool. Another dub in that whole process at the second conference. After like at the end, we're all just like chatting with some of the people who were like running the event. And one of them was basically explaining to me, is like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. You know, one time we were in South Africa, and I was like, yo, tell me more about South Africa because it's on my list. We got to talking about travel, and then eventually she was just like, hit me up. I'm gonna send you 2 whole itineraries for your South Africa trip. And I was like, heck flipping yeah, dude.
And that's the power of networking. So like people are like, Medic, why do you travel so much? Like what benefit does it actually bring to you? So besides my own personal benefit of just going and experiencing such beautiful, exotic places that, you know, this world has to offer to us, besides all that, they're conversation starters. And just as BB mentioned, with that conversation alone, you're able to then open that door for dialogue with that person. I mean, and from there, that went from just a dry conversation to now building some sort of like rapport with the person. So now next time y'all speak, y'all be like, oh yeah, I just got back from Colombia. Oh, I know, I just went to Belize, or I went to here and I went to there. And that just makes a conversation run so much more smoother.
But I learned something new.
Yeah, you got 2 whole freaking itineraries. Those are gold mines.
Heck yeah, dude. And now I'm like really excited. Hopefully we go to South Africa as soon as possible. Hopefully.
Let's do it, dude.
Let's hope we make it happen. Yeah, anyways, so that's the dub of the day. That took flipping what, 12 minutes, 13 minutes? We're losers, dude. Anyways, losers.
Ow. Ow.
Yeah, the topic of conversation today is
Doing things with excellence.
doing things with excellence. And you know what's funny is I'm actually glad I went into way too many details of my day today, because I've really been trying to adopt the whole idea of like, dude, if you're going somewhere, if you're going to work, if you're going to do something, figure out how to maximize, you know? And I'll be honest, you know, at the conference that I went to, I didn't necessarily go and try to meet as many people as possible, you know? But subhanAllah, what I think is really cool is like the right people kind of like came to me in one way or another. So it was really awesome. I was manifesting and it just happened, you know? But yes, doing things with excellence, you know? Don't go somewhere and just be like, this is going to be boring. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. You don't want to be there. Don't go in the first place, right? But doing things with excellence, doing things with the intention to make the most out of it, right? Talk about it.
So with that, it's kind of a trip, because when you go to an event and you're like, oh, this is going to drag, this is going to suck, you're starting off at a really low point.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of closes you off to being social. But when you are put in those conversations of speaking with people and networking, and it happens naturally. So you didn't really intend to actually do it at all. But when it actually happens, a thought comes into your mind and you're like, why was I so opposed to this? This is awesome. I just met 2 or 3 people that were just really good individuals and good people to have in your life. All that because of a simple conversation. Imagine if you actually intended, if you actually put in the effort to speak to many more people instead of 3, maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe 15. Imagine more like all those other dubs that you would have just mentioned. So I think that our first initial thought when we go into things is, oh man, I don't kind of want to do this. But why don't you want to do this? What's the benefit of doing it? And what's the con? What's the negative of doing it? I feel like if you don't end up doing it, there is going to be way more negatives. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like, you think negative, it's probably going to be happening. The event you think is going to suck, it's going to suck. Because all you're going to be focusing on is just going to be the negatives.
So I think it's safe to say, like, a takeaway from that is like, doing things with excellence has to start with the intention going into it. You know, it has to start with the intention going into it. Like when you go into the gym, don't think like this is gonna drag. This can be a dreadful experience. Go into the gym and have a positive intention going into it, in order that you can set yourself up for the best flipping workout of your life. You can set yourself up for the idea that, hey, this is just one of many days that's going to improve my health 30 years from now. That's going to make me that flipping 50-year-old who's like flipping rock star. Everyone looks at it, is like, oh,
It's like
30.
It's like almost like the Emmett effect, right? And like, I bring it like that because Emmett is such a social guy.
Yeah.
Like he'll go to a hookah lounge, he'll go out, he'll go to any convention, he'll go to dinner, he'll go to like freaking boba shops or anything, and he'll strike up a conversation, and then he's there just networking. Like he's so good and so effortless that like that took practice. It makes easy, like it looks really easy. He makes it look easy now that like he's doing it, but because of all those years of experience and actually doing it. But then like now he's put in the situation, he can be like standing right behind him. And instead of that first thought of, how am I going to start this conversation? He already knows how to. So that whole thing of just, am I going to look like a fool? Am I going to waste my time? No, I don't want to bother. It's going to be too, I don't want to bother the other person. Mess around and find out, right? Look back, talk. If it's a short, dry conversation, whatever, at least I got to speak to a person that I wanted to, that I was so opposed to.
You know, that's really interesting because it made me think about, like, you know, a lot of times, you know, people have like that almost like fear to approach because they don't know how to start the conversation. They don't know how to spark it. They don't know how to make sense of the approach. I think what's really, really awesome is the idea of being direct, and how there's absolutely nothing wrong with being direct. Like straight up, if you can look someone into the eye, in their eyes, and you can be like, yo, dude, I don't even know why, but I feel like talking to you right now. Like, I just feel like getting to know you. That would be a very successful approach 10 out of 10 times.
For sure. So it's like the whole thing of, in order for you to speak to people, you have to be interested in them.
Right.
So a simple conversation starter is, you look back at them, is like, do you know what I find so interesting about you? And you go on from there. That little pause after you say, you know what I find so interesting about you, alone is like, tell me more. What? And you see it.
Yeah, it's almost complimenting in a way, because if someone came up to me and said that, I'd be like, well, man, am I an interesting guy? Like, yeah, I just look interesting.
That feeds into their ego.
Yeah, and I was flipping. I'd be like, yeah, dude, well, you know, back in 95. So I think it's important, the idea of excellence. I think it's important to, when you know you want to do something, right? And I had this thought of today's conversation because I was in the gym, right? And I had this thought because it was back to, you know, something I mentioned on an earlier podcast, on an earlier episode, that a psychology major, he's finishing his master's in psychology. And one of the things he asked me that was so simple but so profound to me for some reason was quite simply the question, like, okay, well, do you want better for yourself? And I was just like, bro, it's rhetorical. You know what I mean? Like, it's a rhetorical question. The answer is always going to be yes. You know, you're not going to sit there and you're going to be like, I don't like going to the gym because I don't want to improve my health. You know what I mean? I don't want to improve my physique.
That dude's legit $100,000 in debt just to find out that question.
His family's well off. They're doing okay. That's paid for. But either way, so it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, you're in the gym right now. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you had a long day. You're mentally exhausted. You're physically exhausted. you're just not in the mood to work out. You're like, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna lighten the weight, blah blah blah, this and that, make it easy for myself. Maybe I'm gonna cut it 2 workouts short. Maybe I'm not gonna do my cardio. Maybe I'm not gonna.
And you're just like thinking of like excuses, like, I probably shouldn't go too heavy because, too much weight on your bones and on your joints is bad for you in the long term. So that's why I don't want it. That's why I'm like putting on like a 25 instead of like a plate.
That's why I gotta stop taking Tren, dude. But either way, so it's like, have that moment where you ask yourself, like, do I even want to be here right now? Yes or no, right? If the answer is yes, then there's something in there, right? That desire. Don't necessarily turn it into like a passion that you solely focus on in life, but make it passionate enough to where you can find that intensity and you can make the best workout out of it, right? Sure, you don't love your job, but you don't mind being there, right? You want to be there. You enjoy the job that you do a little bit, not your ideal job, whatever. Find that whatever little desire that you have to be there, make it passionate. Find the intensity in order that you can do your job with excellence. You can work out with excellence. You can, go to a conference with excellence. You know what I'm saying? And just so that everything you're doing, you're always moving in a positive direction and you're always making the most out of it. Find that passion, be passionate about what it is that you're doing. Otherwise, stop wasting your time. Stop wasting your time. And even that, and even more than that, stop wasting other people's time. You know what I'm saying? If you're not going to find, whatever level of passion you can that will help you become excellent at your job, like, be real with yourself. You're wasting your company's time and you're wasting their resources. And, there's, the big ethical question that you have to ask yourself at the end of the day. Find a little bit of passion in order that you can do things with excellence and intensity. You want me to just move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. Because the next note was yours. Move with a purpose. Talk to me.
Yeah. So moving with a purpose,
I can't wait till we get some Del Taco after this. Go ahead.
That's going to be our purpose after this, bro. But no, but like when I think about like the reason why I wrote it down, when I think about moving with a purpose, I'm thinking that you're driven and all the other things that go into it. So like you have an idea, you have a goal, and you want to execute it. So you're moving to this, you're going to the job for this sort of like execution to get that sort of, like not only paycheck, but that sort of result. So like when you move with a purpose in general, if you're talking to a potential spouse, right, you're going to move with a purpose. The ultimate purpose is going to be hopefully marriage, right? And from there, if you're able to then, when you move with a purpose, you're able to ask those more direct questions and you don't feel guilty about it because there's a purpose behind it. Now, if you just ask a random direct question, they'll be like, why'd you ask that? And you're like, why did I ask that? That's weird. It's kind of awkward. Then it's awkward. But if you actually have like a whole, like, purpose behind it, then it's like, no, I asked this because of boom, boom, boom. So the other person be like, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. So
yeah, back to the idea of like being direct,
Exactly.
That was a completely different subject at that point.
But still, it ties in.
It ties in really well. Being direct, it really shows that you have an intention, you have a purpose behind something. You're not just doing things out of, mindless curiosity or, it like dancing around a subject rather than getting to the point.
Think about like the whole thing of what's the difference between a business owner and employee?
Someone's going to care for the work a little bit more.
Wrong. So a business owner has a purpose. They found their purpose and they're moving towards it. An employee typically is someone that's helping the business owner achieve that purpose or achieve that goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's typically it. So typically when you listen to an Alex Ramosi or you listen to a Patrick Bet David, right? These people are very direct and they're very well spoken, and you could see some sort of intensity to speak with fire. You're right. You want to stand besides that, right? You want to be like, yo, like I associate with that. I want that because that direction, you're hoping that if you're around it so much, you're hopefully going to be peace. You're hopefully able to like, what? You're hopefully able to find your own purpose and see what they've done in order for them to be so clear, so level-minded. So like, that's what I mean by moving with a purpose. So you just got to go have a goal, you crush it, and you continue. That's really just a simple framework of the whole thing of moving with a purpose. So it's one of those things that you won't regret because you don't feel like you're wasting time. Other people, when they're listening to you speak, they don't feel like you're wasting your own time, and you don't feel like you're wasting their time because, if anything, they start noticing your time. They start noticing like, yo, I don't want to waste this guy's time because you're moving with a purpose. You got somewhere to be. Get out of my way. It's either you're going to help me get there or you're just in my way. So to that person subconsciously that's looking at a person that's driven, they're like, I'm going to move out of my way and I won't bother you. Or I will speak to you with a purpose as well. Because, yo, what are you doing? You're interesting now. Like, wait, what are you doing? Where are you going now? What's your next move? I always love when like customers ask me, so Malik, when's your next trip? Where are you going to? Because every single time I'm like, I'm going to Belize. I'm going to Costa Rica. I'm going to Jamaica. I'm going here. I'm going there, right? So it's always something to look forward to. So that's like, I think that's the beauty, and I'm kind of tying it in with life in general. When people have a very negative thought on life, a very depressive thought on life, life is this, life is negative, it's grim, it's ugly, it's this, it's that. Maybe, just maybe, one reason is that they don't have much purpose. And that's the beauty of being Muslim, is because our ultimate purpose, regardless if you have a goal, a purpose in this life, like whether guys like business or some sort of, career. In Islam, our ultimate purpose is going to be Jannah, inshallah, right? To eventually meet our Creator and to eventually,
Jannah is heaven.
Yeah. Our ultimate goal is heaven.
Yeah, I'm just translating.
Oh, okay, cool. I was like, oh, you can correct me right now. I'm moving with a purpose, dog. But you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, 100%. I think what's really interesting about while you're explaining all of that, which was you're explaining too much a little bit, to be honest.
Oh, sorry.
But no. What was really cool about it is it made me realize that it's almost like what's the opposite of an inverse relationship? Anyways, it's directly attached to confidence. It's directly attached to confidence. When you move with a purpose, when you do things with excellence, it shows you're very confident about what it is you want.
But confidence can sometimes or mostly stem from reason. You have a reason to be confident. I know like it's built and it's almost like a muscle that you have to work on, but I feel like a person gains confidence. Or actually confident when they're moving with a purpose.
See, that's why I wanted to figure out like some sort of reason. What's the opposite of an inverse relationship? Because the thing is you can look at it from both sides.
I want to say I don't know
like a person
full, but outverse. If it's not in, it's
oh man, you're lucky we only have like 3.5 viewers, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
There is, yeah, it's
and that's why
you could have said metaverse, and that would have just been better. You know what I mean?
But I did it.
It's a metaverse relationship.
Outverse.
Yeah. Anyways, outverse. That's that's
way better than I don't know.
Oh, was that supposed to be me?
Yeah.
Anyways, so it's one of those things where you can look at it from both directions, right? Because like you were explaining, like when someone's just like, okay, I got to finish up and move on to the next thing. Move. They move with a purpose. They walk with a purpose. They move with intensity. You can identify that person as a confident individual. You know what I'm saying? You kind of get that feel that they just exude confidence, right? And then the other way you can look at it is you can say a person with confidence, right? They always do things with excellence because they always have a purpose. They always have a reason. And the reason why confidence is just stuck in my mind right now is because usually a strong personality or a confident personality, they already understand what it is they want, whether it's out of life, whether it's out of a situation, whether it's out of a relationship, whatever it is. They understand what it is they want, what it is they need, and they understand the direction they're going in. And so because you're kind of like set on that, it allows you to become more passionate. It allows you to become more intense in what it is that you need to do. Why? Because now you have an objective to get it done and to get it done properly and get the most out of it.
Yep.
So I just wanted to throw that in. Like, I feel like there's just like a crossover between that and confidence.
So like a lot of people love to talk, right? Talk about,
32 minutes.
What are you up to? Yeah, man, like, what are your
A
goals?
lot of people like to talk.
A lot. But like, you always get like some sort of a kick off talking to other people about your goals and aspirations. So you're like, oh yeah, like I'm going to do this and I'm working towards this and we're doing this and I'm doing that. Like you're almost boasting about it, right? You're very proud to say it. But guess what? You don't end up doing that. Why don't you end up executing at the end of the day, right? All those goals, all those things. It sounds like a really good plan. You're talking about it. You're moving like you're talking about like a whole bunch of like excitement and passion and so on, right?
Talking a big game.
But it's like, if you're going to talk all that time, then it's like, why aren't you actually putting the effort to execute? So that's why I kind of like, I talked about and I wrote down, don't talk, execute, right? Because at the end of the day, after you're done, people will be like, oh, by the way, Mustafa, what went on with that one thing that you talked to me about? Man, that hurts.
Yeah, it's really embarrassing when you have like no update on it or you haven't even started it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I've been kind of busy lately, and time is.
It's actually really funny because in the past like I want to say like year or whatever, I feel like there's been a couple times where I was just like, yo, I got like this really sick like video idea, or like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then you would just straight up ask me, like, okay, well, did you do it? And I'm like, no, not yet. And then like it got to a point where it was just like, oh, I have this idea, I got this sick video idea, and I'm like, oh yeah, something else you're just gonna talk about and never do. And I'm like, okay, calm down, dude, like chill out. 2 podcasts later, I'm kind of proud of myself. But anyways, we still need to make these podcasts successful, but nonetheless, still we're doing it, right? We're making it happen.
Yeah.
And what's funny is making it happen. It kind of takes me in the direction of what I said a moment ago, where it's like, give a damn or don't do it at all.
Yep.
Give a damn or don't do it at all. Because, like, there goes the train of thought. Give a damn or don't do it at all. Why on earth? And this is like kind of like, it's very similar. It kind of touches, it's very similar to the idea of like, the person who has multiple hustles versus the person who focuses on one thing. You know what I mean? Well, if you're going to do a bunch of stuff and not give a damn while you're doing it, do you think any of those things that you've committed to are going to be enjoyable? Do you think any of those things that you've committed to half-assed are going to be successful in any way, shape, or form?
Isn't it ironic that like we think that with all these side hustles and all these other things all these other missions that we get ourselves into, how we feel almost accomplished, or we feel super,
it's fun to say out loud,
fulfilled.
It's very fun to say out loud
that like we're doing all this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, what fruits are you enjoying from this? we find some sort of pride to say that I'm always busy. My calendar is freaking stocked up. I can't dedicate any sort of time because of this. We want to say that so that way I can, like, someone else that's listening to this, be like,
whoa, this guy Matic is crazy.
this guy's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I am, right? Yeah, I'm doing right. I'm doing good, right? I'm good, right? But it's like, you're not. You're not. You're legit. You're trying to go straight, but you're too busy making a right, down, straight, back, this different directional things that you don't have to focus on. And that's just moving you to like nowhere.
I thought of another metaphor for it, actually.
Let's go.
So imagine one of these hustles is a staircase, right?
Yep.
And you want to reach the top of this staircase. Why would you go 100 steps to go start on a new staircase? To only do 100 steps there and then hop on a new staircase, do 100 steps there, when you could have been climbing that first staircase until you reached the entire, like the top of it.
I mean, look, if step 100 is the ultimate success,
No,
that side hustle.
no, it's nowhere near it.
Okay. So like,
No, sorry. Step 100 is nowhere near the success you desire.
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's nowhere, because like, let's just say, for example, up the staircase, you go through levels. After the first 50, it's like you pass level 1, there's next 50, the next 50, next 50. Now, let's just say to get to the, what do they call it? The,
Pinnacle.
not the pinnacle, but like the heavenly gates, right? Which is like, you know,
Pinnacle.
funny enough, the ultimate success that we're trying to achieve, right?
Yep.
The gates of heaven.
The pinnacle.
The pinnacle. Let's say that's at like, that requires 40,000 steps on the staircase. You know what I'm saying? Similar to the idea of how once you clock out from your 9 to 5, you've stopped climbing the staircase, right?
Yeah, you stop right there.
And you stopped right there, whatever level that is, whatever staircase, whatever number that is. And the next day when you clock in, you start climbing up the stairs again, right? You're only climbing stairs during a certain period of time in your day. When, if you think about it, in theory, I can just never stop climbing, right? But I can also never get any sleep. I could also never exercise. I could also never eat, right? So it doesn't make sense.
Well, time management.
Time management, absolutely. But that's I'm just saying, like, in theory, right? In theory, you can technically never stop climbing, right? You can come back from a market and you could hop on and do research of ways to take your brand to a next level. Ways of, you can do research, or you can look into, make phone calls on how you can expand your kitchen into multiple locations. All of our markets in LA, why don't we open up an LA kitchen? You know what I'm saying? Okay, we open up this LA kitchen, we have a lot of traction now, we have a lot of customers in the area, let's turn it into a restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Like, technically, you can keep going by finding new ideas, executing new game plans, blah, 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 this and that, right? But you reach a certain part of the staircase and then you're like, all right, I got to go to sleep now. So you stop. That's doing the exact same thing when you decide, okay, I'm going to reach this staircase, like this level on the staircase, and then I'm going to go hop on a completely new staircase, which is a completely new side hustle. It's like, there's no point to that. And as it always turns out, because you're not doing that one thing with excellence and you're splitting yourself, it's not possible to do all those things with excellence. Which means what? You'll never reach the pinnacle of any of those situations that you've signed up for.
Yep.
You know?
And it's kind of sad because you're thinking that you're doing all this stuff just because you're crushing it and it's going to benefit you. Where it's like you're doing all this stuff to get to a certain level that maybe one of your side hustles or one of your hustles in general would have gotten you and some if you just focused on it. And Alex Ramosi says it best. He always preaches that if you're going to do something, focus on one and just pour yourself into it.
Yeah.
And
No, he put it into a crazy perspective because he was explaining the idea that, like, he had like 7 businesses before he decided to sit down and focus on one. And he explained it. He was like, dude, imagine you have like 4 companies making $1 million a year. That's 4 million, right? That's flipping amazing, right? Why don't you focus on one company that can make you 10 million? And it's just like, well, whoa, you know what I'm saying? That 10 million, because you're so focused on it, that then turns into 50 million. Screw 4 million at that point. So screw 4 million. That's pocket change. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he put it in a perspective that like really, really made sense. The cool thing about this whole conversation as a whole is really the fact that like Islam really teaches us from as young as possible the concept of ihsan, which literally translates, I don't know if literally is the way to put it, but it translates into excellence, right? And Islam really does teach us this whole concept of, when you go to pray, you have to kind of find that spiritual level. The only way the only way you can really achieve that is through doing your prayers with excellence, right? And then excellence could be expanded into it could be expanded across the board into so many different things, right? Let's say, for example, you're like, yes, I want to give to the needy, right? How do you do it with excellence? You don't just give, but you give without fear that you're losing. It's an element of excellence. You give in secrecy because you don't want your ego to be involved. You don't want people to be like, well, look at this guy. That's excellence, right? So ihsan is definitely I wish we could expand a little bit more on it, but I feel like the knowledge is limited. But nonetheless, doing things with excellence and understanding that when you are committing to something, you are completing something, you ask yourself the question, once again, how can I make the most of this? How can I do the very best? And a question I love asking myself is, how could I, many years from now into the future, when I'm old and I'm not even going to say like on my deathbed, right? But like years have passed. How can I look back at my life and have 0 regrets? Only because I know that I didn't just take risks and do what I wanted to do that seems risky or seems like unachievable, but I also did it with excellence.
So I feel like there's like a blessing in taking risks.
Mm-hmm.
There's risks and risks, bro.
Facts.
So like, it's tough, and it will shatter your confidence, and it takes a lot out of you, of like your ego and so on, in order to at least take a risk.
Bro, I'm smoking hookah with excellence right now.
So the whole thing of just like taking a risk is, I love it because like you're almost not taking it seriously. But have you ever like done something that you're just like, I'm just gonna do it, whatever. I'm gonna play the sport just because whatever. I'm gonna do something just because whatever. I'll cooperate. You're cooperating. You're not really giving 100%. You're like, I'm gonna do it. You're just like, I guess I'll volunteer. When you do that, and then you end up like just crushing whatever it is, you're like, what the heck was that? I feel like when you take a risk, go with it. Be like, let me just try it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then just find out. As I said, mess around and find out.
Yeah.
Just check it out. If you think you're going to fail, or it's still kind of negative, really negative, and don't recommend it, but if you still think that you're going to fail, screw it. You're going to fail regardless, right? Fail. But let's just find out.
No, like you said before, it's kind of like one of those things where, like, let's say, for example, you're playing basketball at the gym. I think that was the example you used. I would rather lose knowing I put my life on the line than win knowing I didn't try.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so once again, it's kind of like when I grow old, I would rather sit there and tell myself, I made the most of every situation and I did everything that was in my power that I possibly could, rather than sit there and tell myself, damn, I wish I could go back to 28.
I think mindset, that's very powerful, by the way. I feel like mindset plays a huge role into it, because I watched a video, and the video said there's a research that's been conducted. They asked two groups of people about something like a situation that's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
The question simply was, do you think less negative situations, or like not really thinking about negative situations in your life,
You said this.
or thinking about good stuff? Thinking about the good times. And I'm kind of almost butchering it, but it's just kind of like your spark notes.
I don't remember either, so I can't even correct you.
But basically what the guy was saying, that like you'll have more of a it will have more of a negative effect that you think about all the negative stuff in your life, and just it carries on with you, as opposed to just thinking about good stuff.
I think the question was, is it better to have more positive thoughts or less negative thoughts?
Yeah,
and what
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
And it's more beneficial to the human psyche,
Yes,
and it translates into life, because manifesting.
exactly.
It translates into life. It's better to live life with less negative thoughts.
Exactly, because you could have 100 positive thoughts and maybe just 2 or 3 negative thoughts.
And those alone can take you down.
That's going to take you down. So when you're that old and you're in your deathbed and so on, right, looking back at life, I think anyone could think about a couple negative moments in their life. They'd be like, dang, dear, I wish. Dang, if only.
Mm-hmm.
What a horrible way, man.
Yep.
You just lived all these years. You've had all these positive experiences, and you chose just to cheat yourself and think about just a couple negative experiences in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I kind of brought up with the whole living life with regrets.
Yeah.
Because that thing is toxic, and that will not get you far. Because if you're going to keep on living with regrets, it's going to hold you back in this life. It's eventually going to lead on to just you being closed off, that closed mindset mentality that we all hate, but we're all, like, not all, but the majority of people are just victim to. So, yeah.
So I wanted to go ahead and close off by reading some Quran that explains why a person, or why Islam teaches ihsan, and how it all fits in, because the whole idea of like growing old and this and that, being in your deathbed. So we're just gonna go ahead and just hit it with the translation. Should I read the Arabic as well? What do you think?
I think you should hit it with the translation.
All right. So this is literally the last 2 verses of Surah Al-Munafiqun, chapter number 63, verses 10 and 11. And spend in the way of Allah from what we have provided you before death approaches you, or before death approaches one of you, and he says, my Lord, if only you would delay me for a brief term, so I would give charity and be among the righteous. And the next verse says, but never will Allah delay a soul when its time has come. And Allah is acquainted with what you do. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the King of Average podcast. If you think we deserve it, definitely hit us with a thumbs up, send a subscribe, and comment down below what your thoughts are. And let us know what you'd like to talk about. Shout out to Skenda for the painting. We love you. And with that being said, we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.